Hey there, Pod Pals. Are you a print-on-demand creator looking to stay ahead of the curve? You want to know exactly when to launch your designs for every key season and event? How about a chuckle with an extra dad joke to brighten your day? If you said yes to any of these, then it's time to join the Print on Demand Cast VIP list. As a VIP, you'll get our free annual design calendar, an amazing guide to help you time your creations perfectly throughout the year. And of course, we'll include a bonus dad joke each week as well. Signing up couldn't be easier. Just visit printondemandcast.com/VIP and enter your email. Don't let another day of potential pass you by. Become a part of the VIP list, grab your annual design calendar, and let's dive into a year of inspired creating together. We'll see you on the other side.
Welcome back to the Print on Demand Cast. This week, we're going to talk about the 5 Ps of marketing. So let's get into it.
Radical! Welcome to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. Each week, join the gnarly Travis and Josiah as they provide insight into the print on demand industry and equip you with the totally tubular tools, advice, and strategies you need to achieve success and hopefully have a few laughs along the way. Now on to this week's Totally Tubular show.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Print on Demand Cast. It's great to be with you here for episode 199. Very exciting things ahead. And we're going to get to that in the point of interest. And then again, in the main event, we're going to talk about the 5 Ps of marketing. Bonus points if you press pause and send us what you think the 5 Ps are right now. And if you get it right, we'll give you a crisp high five. And who's we? Travis and I. Travis joining us from Make Your Mark Design as always. Travis, how you doing, man? How was your weekend? It's a Tuesday as we record this. So how are things going over there at Casa de Ras?
Pretty good. We had a really nice weekend, and my wife and I did a little hiking on Saturday morning in Boulder and did nice. Green Mountain. Yeah, Green Mountain. It was pretty cool little hike. Has a nice look, view at the top, and actually took her to the airport last night.
Oh, that's right.
You're
Mr. Dad.
Yeah, she is in England. She went with some friends of ours. She's doing some ministry over there. It's kind of like a missions trip, but
That's
she's
awesome.
gone for 15 days. So I am Mr. Dad. I took my son to a summer basketball thing this morning at 8 a.m. Had to have him in Longmont and have to do that pretty much every day unless I can figure out some
alternative
some ride. Yeah. Like some carpooling things, but no, I think so far so good. This week's gone good. Yesterday was good. Yeah. Just going to see how it goes with my wife being gone for 15 freaking days.
Yeah. That's a long time. It's a very long time. That's awesome. Okay, man, glad that your weekend was good. We chatted a little bit offline, but we had a poker night last week, Thursday, Friday, sometime. Good time. Had family in town for the weekend as well. So we went to the barbecue festival in Johnstown, which I don't know if you knew this was a thing.
Didn't know.
The parade, the whole thing, fire truck, spraying the hose, bunch of food trucks and inflatable rides and live music and all the stuff. It was really fun. But it was like 87, 90 degrees out. And it was enjoyable for a brief fleeting moment before I wanted to just die. So, that was my weekend, and excited to get into what we have here for everyone in this episode. But before we get to the point of interest and the main event, we are going to go into this week's weekly dad joke.
Time for the weekly dad joke.
All right, Travis. What is this week's weekly dad joke?
Well, I was just reminiscing and I was thinking back. My dad passed away, I don't know, 10 years ago or so. Well, actually it's been like 15 now. So I was reminiscing, thinking about, living back in Kansas, and we lived in kind of this area, had a bunch of hills and stuff. And I remember when he would roll me down the hill in this big tire we had. Those were the good years.
There you go. Father's Day is just around the corner, so feel free to use that as well. Those are the good years, not the wonder years, the good years.
That's right.
If you know what the wonder years is, let us know. More bonus points that could result in another crisp high five. But speaking of something that could result in crisp high fives for means of celebration, we're going to go to this week's point of interest.
Point of interest.
All right, Travis, this week's point of interest, maybe a little self-serving. I don't know. But it's a cause for celebration, and I would play the song Celebration if we weren't going to get hit with a copyright issue on YouTube. So we'll just, I don't know what else to do in lieu of that, but I will say that next week is episode 200 of the Print on Demand cast.
Oh, yeah.
That is incredible. And so for the celebration of the 200th episode, what we're going to do is go live next week, June 11th, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And so it's going to be on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook with a slight disclaimer to just say right out front that our intent is to go live with all three platforms. But this show typically doesn't do lives very frequently. So there might be a hurdle that we encounter that ends up being more of a mountain. And we may just not be able to go live to at least one. I'm sure we can do two. There's a third one. It's questionable, but the intent is all the same to just go to live to all three channels. And Travis, we want to ask the listeners, the Print on Demand multiverse, metaverse, whatever you want to say, whatever you want to call them, we want to give them some homework for next week's show to participate in what we're going to be doing. Travis is going to be here with me. We're going to be in the same room. We'll be going live, taking questions or talking about the show, but we have specific things that we want you, the listener, to do. And so, Travis, I want you to kind of detail what it is people can do to participate in next week's monumental 200th episode.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things you guys can do. And to Josiah's point, it's totally self-serving, but I don't care. It's our 200th episode. That's a pretty cool milestone. And I think we're both really proud of this. So we would love for you guys to participate and to celebrate with us. So you probably heard our little, minute and a half episode that we dropped in the podcast feed earlier this weekend, but we would like you to participate by answering the magic questions. And the three magic questions we've selected are: what is a good story or a positive story that's happened in your business? What's a story where you thought, oh, this is over, something that was terrible, that happened in your business? And the third one would be, of course, the magic question, or the crystal ball magic question, which is, what do you think the future of print on demand is? And you can answer all three. You can answer just one, or you could just tell us a really cool story about your business. Maybe just tell us what you do. Anybody who gives us any information, any of these answers, any of these questions, you're going to be on the show. We're going to read out your answers. But if you would like to kind of go one step further, what we invite you to do is is go to speakpipe.com/printondemandcast. And what this is, it's basically a way for you to record audio right there on your own computer using whatever microphone you have, your laptop's microphone, or if you have an external microphone, whatever. It doesn't matter. It'll ask you for permissions, of course, and you just say yes. And then you can answer any of these questions. The other thing that, again, is really self-serving, that would be super cool if you wanted to do, tell us how the Print on Demand cast has helped you in your business. That would be super awesome. So if you go, the website you go to is speakpipe, speakpipe.com, and that's well, it'll be in the show notes. speakpipe.com/print-on-demand-cast. And you'll see a little thing, and there'll be a button, and you click it and it'll ask you for the permissions, and you just talk. And let's try to keep it, under 2 minutes, minute and a half is probably best. But yeah, tell us about an awesome thing in your business, answer one of the magic questions, or just share how the Print on Demand Cast has helped you in your business. And Josiah, if they don't want to do the speak pipe thing, what else can they do?
Yeah, if you don't want to do the speak pipe thing, you can also, in lieu of that, go to info@printondemandcast.com, send us your answers there, or DM us on Facebook or Instagram with those answers as well, and we will be sure. Thank you, Travis, for clicking a button that I forgot to click just then. Operating at maybe 80%, but yeah. So if you don't want to do the voice to text or speak pipe submission, email us info@printondemandcast or DM us Facebook or Instagram, and we will be sure to aggregate and collect all of those pieces of data and information and share them with the listeners on the show. And if you're listening along with us, or watching rather along with us, Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, feel free to comment, feel free to say, hey, interact with us, even in the comment sections. You can do that as well. And if you're thinking, man, I'm busy on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, I don't want to miss the episode. Have no fear. This same episode that we do the live on Tuesday, we will drop in the regular feed the next day for you to listen to if you can't make the live. But if you can make the live Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, we would certainly appreciate it. We'd love to interact with you guys and have a lot of fun with you. Again, the goal, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, is where you can go to catch the live on all those platforms. But we're super excited to celebrate episode 200. It's a little shy of 4 years.
I know.
Which is absolutely insane. But yeah, super excited to celebrate the 200th episode.
I had short hair when we started this podcast.
You did. When I scroll back through the archives of StreamYard, because you can only, for those listening, you can only host so many hours on a certain plan, whatever. When you scroll back to the way back, you see Travis with short hair, just wearing a hat like me with no hair, sticking out. And so we've all grown and evolved here on the Print on Demand Cast. But guys, we'd love it if you guys were with us next week, June 11th, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 6 p.m. Pacific. And we hope to see you all there. So with that being said, we will move off of this rather self-serving topic and point of interest. But again, don't care. It's really cool that we've made it this far. And we'll talk more about that next week as well. But for now, let's talk about 5 P's of marketing.
We'll be right back.
Hey, you. Yeah, you listening. Do you like personal finance or real estate? Are you itching to build wealth and create a better life for yourself or your family? Then you need to come check out the Life, Money, and More podcast with real estate agent, YouTuber, and actor Sage Weiss. This isn't your average finance show. We dive deep and do not sugarcoat topics around money and life. The Life, Money, and More podcast releases 2 episodes a week just for you, because we're all about helping you win in this crazy world we live in. Come join the thousands of listeners on the Life, Money, and More podcast.
Main event, main event, main event. Main event, main event, main event. Main event, main event, main event.
All right, Travis, we are here in the main event, and we're going to be talking about marketing again, and covering a spectrum of things in terms of marketing. This isn't necessarily for you listening. Like, if they're going to talk about social media and the 80-20 rule exclusively again, I'm pissed. It's not that. There's lots that we're going to cover here. But these might not be in any necessary order. However, Travis, let's start with the first one, the first P, and that stands for product. So kind of unpack that. What's the first P of marketing? Product. What's that mean?
Yeah, I mean, some of these are going to be pretty obvious, but I think there's enough to them that will get you thinking and kind of point it in the right way. But when you're talking about the product, obviously your product needs to serve the needs of your customers. And who are your customers? We've talked about that again, and we're going to get to one of the P's. We'll talk about who your customers are, but we always talk about a customer avatar. And so who is that person, And so when you think about print on demand products, what are the needs that print on demand product is serving? A lot of times, and I think I had mentioned this on a What Is Your Why podcast we did a while back, but one of our friends, Luke, was talking me through, and he's been on the podcast as well. He's a brand expert, I guess, branding expert, and works with a lot of companies and individuals and people, and really getting their messaging through. And the one thing that he helped me see, because I'm thinking, well, I just make little trinkets, and t-shirts and mugs and all that stuff. The one thing that he helped me see was our products help bring joy to people in special moments. Primarily because a lot of our products are given as gifts, especially our coffee mugs. And that's my main product. We do a lot of other things, but really started with coffee mugs. And so a lot of those are given as gifts. And so when you think about how your product is serving a need, well, people need to find something to give as a gift, and it can be personalized. It could be more targeted towards that person's profession or your relationship with them, a sister, a mother, a father, a son, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of ways that person can connect with it, with that product. And so that's just one way that we are serving the needs of our customers, because our customers have a need to find a unique, fun item potentially to give to someone else. Some other, options would be, or examples would be, like if you had an outdoor brand, of some sort, and you had products that would help, that could display that, in a way that other people would know that you are an outdoors type person, or maybe something like a dry wicking shirt that, you could wear when you're actually hiking. Maybe I'm buying it for myself and I have a need to identify or to share my identity with others that I'm an outdoors person. So there's a lot of different ways you can look at this depending on what your brand is and how you're positioning yourself in the market. But that's really, yes, it's basic, but it's a good exercise to go through, to really think through, again, who is your avatar and what need is your product serving? That's the first P. And then there's a couple other things that you have to include in this product category, in the first P. What are a couple more of those, Josiah?
Yeah. So quality of the product, right? Like when you look at your avatar and you're trying to determine what you're wanting to sell, you need to know what the quality of the product is you're going to be selling. And we've talked about this a lot in past episodes as well, but you're not just talking about the product, the quality of the hand of the shirt or the feel of the shirt itself. But you're also talking about the quality of design. And we've got a handful of episodes in our archive as well, talking about how, a good design really is what is going to get the people to click on your product because they just see a thumbnail. So you want to create really engaging quality designs and spend that time investing in either that VA or the Fiverr or the Upwork artist or yourself, really honing the craft of t-shirt design and what makes a good t-shirt design or mug design or what have you, because they're a dime a dozen and they're everywhere. And so you want to do something that's going to help you stand out. And one of the easiest ways to do that is just making overall better designs. Another thing, Travis, we talk about as well is the packaging. Packaging adds a lot to the perceived value of an item. So, it might be that you're selling a Bella Canvas tri-blend just like a million other people, but that packaging, is it custom packaging? Do the custom tape? Is there a box? Travis and I were talking offline. I was trying to find a video of this. I forget what the product was. I want to say it was like a cigar or a cigar box, but basically these people like open up the box and it kind of opens itself, and then the dry ice smoke comes out of it, and then you pull the cigar box from the the mist or whatever. That's a really high perceived value.
Right.
So, and you can charge accordingly, but you want to make sure that you know exactly what you're trying to communicate to your customer from a branding standpoint. And sometimes you don't always have control over the packaging, depending on what platform you're selling it on, or if it's FBA or what have you. But that's certainly something that you want to keep in mind as well.
Yeah, a lot of print-on-demand vendors are actually allowing you to customize certain elements of your packaging. There's a company called Merchize that has a lot of different options for your packaging, and you can upload all of your graphics, and they have kind of predetermined packaging for specific products, not all their products, but and a lot of companies are doing that these days because of this, because print on demand is everywhere. And so in order to set your products apart, packaging can be a huge factor in that. So if you're not using it, that's fine. But if you do want to set yourself apart, because, like Josiah said, you can really, you can charge a lot more. You could potentially make a lot more than the packaging is going to cost you ultimately on each product. If that, you obviously have to display that somehow if you're selling like on listings and whatever in your mock-ups, and you have to display how that's going to show up. But if you can do that in an effective way, and then people start seeing, wow, this is really nice. Again, if I'm gifting this to somebody, I feel pretty awesome if like I'm giving them a cigar box and there's dry ice in it, I don't know if any print on demand people are doing dry ice yet, but you get the idea.
If you are, let us know. Include it in your message for next week's episode.
Yeah, exactly.
With a picture and a video of what you're doing. Because that's pretty awesome. The second P here, of course, is price. If you were making bets as to what one of the P's would be, you probably thought price would be one, and you are correct. There's many things to take into consideration when we're looking at pricing a product. The first two obviously are no-brainers. One is the internal cost, like how much does it cost to make the product, as well as costs of the operating costs of the business. I was just having a conversation this morning with a friend who went and grabbed coffee, and he has finally launched his apparel business that he wanted to start, and he's doing it as kind of a side hustle to his day job. It's called One Pursuit, and so he was wearing one of the hoodies. And the hoodies that he had was vinyl transfer. And what he's doing is he is ordering in bulk, having them sent to his house, and then packaging and shipping from his house. He's got a full-time job, a wife that's about to have their second child, and 2 dogs in their house, right? So the dude is busy, and he has a daughter who's growing quickly. And so I'm telling him, like, have you considered like just doing print on demand? Like, don't worry about the fulfillment piece. Like, yeah, but that part's too expensive. They charge you way too much, and it's cheaper for me just to do it myself. And I said, have you factored in the amount of time it's going to take you to do this? Because your time is the most valuable thing. If you're going to pay these guys $2 extra, charge $2 extra, touch nothing, and live your life. You know what I mean? So you're not tied down to these influx of orders as things grow and you're all of a sudden swamped, or you're trying to hire someone to work out of your garage. Like, there's a lot easier ways to do this. So all that to say, consider time. A lot of people don't consider the time it takes you to do something in terms of business costs as well. But that's one thing you want to take into consideration, as well as what are your competitors charging for the same product? And can you justify charging more based on the other things we just talked about, design quality, customer perceived value, that kind of stuff. But those are the first two that might be a little obvious or no-brainers in terms of pricing. But Travis, what else should we take into consideration when we're talking about price?
Yeah, I think one that, again, we kind of come back to that client avatar, customer avatar. What is your customer avatar's buying power? In other words, what if you have a target avatar? What is their socioeconomic position in the world? In other words, like, let's say you're going after weddings. Well, are you going after a lot? People spend a lot of money at weddings, so you know that there is money there. Okay. And so that is going to allow you to charge more.
Yep.
Typically. Okay. If you are going towards, basically finding your avatar helps you determine what their buying power is, and then you can price accordingly. Now, obviously,
Right.
you're not trying to gouge people, but you are trying to create a perceived customer value with your packaging potentially, or just with the actual quality of the item. And then from there, if you know that the demographic that you're targeting has money, you're going to charge for that, and it'll probably inform the packaging.
Yeah.
It'll probably go back to the packaging, because if they do have money, and if they are spending more money, they're going to expect more. That's just, the law of supply and demand. And then the other thing to take into consideration, we mentioned this last time, is the quality. Again, if your demographic has money, they're going to expect quality. And that, again, could go back to the packaging, could go back to your design. If you have a crappy design, none of this matters. The product really does kind of define the rest of these, or help you kind of get to the rest of these. If you have a bad product, none of this really matters. But if you have a good product, depending on the quality of the product and the actual, the quality of the t-shirt or hoodie or whatever,
Yeah.
it needs to match what you're charging. And so, don't charge high dollar for, a Gildan 5000, that feels like sandpaper,
Right.
make sure it's a comfort colors at least, or something,
Yep.
and so those are the ideas behind pricing. And then there's also some other psychological elements you can use that will influence your price. You can do bundles. So if you have a coffee mug and a t-shirt, and I don't know if those two things go together, but you get the idea. So we were pricing out decanters and rocks glasses. We were going to put them in a box and try to do a customer experience, and the whole deal we were going to do. We never got to it before we ended up moving out of Make Your Mark Design. And my son Tate, who was really kind of taking the lead on that, and moved to a different job. But we were looking at all of these different things, and we were looking at rocks, the stones, the whiskey stones you can get, and just different pieces that could come into this bundle of products that, maybe if I sold one, I'd sell it for this much, but now all of a sudden my average cart value has quadrupled because I'm putting all these things in. And maybe if I sold one rocks glass, I'd charge $20, but now it's a pack of 4. So maybe it's $60, and
Sure.
so those, and even though my customer might not need 3 and they only need 1, the value is so good that I'm going to buy 3. And you just had your average cart value triple, by that psychological element, along the same lines as multi-packs. So, that would apply there with the rocks glasses. The bundle would be rocks glasses and a decanter and some whiskey stones, et cetera, but just selling multiples of the same thing and giving a bulk discount can be one. And then we've talked about loss leaders, which is more of a marketing ploy to get people into your shop and buying something, and then maybe hopefully onto your email list or your future marketing plan. If you don't have any of that set up, it doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense to do loss leaders, because they might just buy that one thing that you didn't make any money on and then never come back to your store, because you have no way of capturing that sale or capturing that lead and remarketing to them. So there's a whole lot of things to price that can factor into your price. And I think going through these things individually can potentially help you examine that, and maybe even adjust some things and potentially come up with some different offerings in order to, again, be appropriately priced in the market that you're serving.
Yeah. Awesome. The third P is promotion, which this gets more into that traditional, I guess, idea of marketing, right? And so you're looking at ad placements, and there's 2 places you can place ads. One where the buyer already has intent, so they're coming to the site because they are going to buy or looking to buy something.
Mhm.
Those are sites like Etsy ads or Amazon sponsored ads, where you're trying to get people to say, hey, if you're looking to buy something, you should come check out you're the spinning sign in the mall as people are walking by. You're the clearance rack display in front of, the buckle to get people to just go into the store. You're trying to get people's attention to come and look at what else you have to offer. And so there's that. And then there's people who aren't, or sites where maybe people aren't actively looking to purchase, like Google or Facebook, where they're just going about their day, but you want to drip your content in there to try and get their attention, or maybe encourage them to take a look at what you have to offer, depending on what it is that you're selling. Maybe it appeals to them and their algorithm. I can say effectively, in the past 2 weeks, I bought something based off of Instagram ads. And so it was not planning on it, and then saw it, and they were doing a sale on this thing. And I was like, yeah, I've been wanting that anyway, or whatever. So
yeah,
those work too.
Yeah, I love that idea of, or the example of the guy spinning the sign, because you drive by him. And obviously, as I'm driving down the street, I'm not looking to purchase something or find a home, or buy a house, but that guy's spinning that thing on the corner. And obviously he's not trying to get somebody to buy something, but he's trying to create awareness, so there's a different target, or a different strategic outcome that they're looking for with that particular type of marketing versus, you go into the mall and there's the clearance rack out in the mall in front of the buckle, saying, you are here to buy things. We have things that are cheaper than other places. Come to us, and so I like those two. That really does illustrate it really well, as far as like the difference between like an Etsy ad, for example, or an Amazon sponsored ad versus like just a generic Google ad or a Facebook ad, because but both can work, and it really does matter about, like, it's going to affect the next thing in this promotion. It's going to affect your messaging and how you are speaking to those people. Do they have buyer intent? Maybe you're going to speak to them a little differently than if they don't have buyer intent, so messaging's huge. Once you talk about that, Josiah.
Yeah. It's just, what's the tone of your brand, which again, you want to figure out who your avatar is. And as a result of that, you'll also figure out what the tone of your brand is, or what you're looking for it to be, depending on who you're wanting to attract. And we talk about this a lot with Luke on episode 121 in the archives. And we actually go through some specific examples of ads. And they're major, corporate ads like a Nike or whatever. But the principle is the same, where what are you trying to communicate? What are you trying to say about people who buy your product? Are they better than the other person who isn't, and why? Or is it appealing to people who get things done? Buy my shirt, or buy this coffee mug, or buy this decanter set, whatever it is. So you want to know what the tone of your brand is and what you're trying to communicate to people in that advertising, even if it's a still image. Maybe it's a static image and you're not doing a video, which is fine. But you want to know what it is you're trying to convey, and convey to the end user to say, oh yeah, I need that because I want to be like that or that person. Or I want to set myself in that same class or category of people. And it's super effective.
Granger for the ones who get it done.
Yeah.
I mean, exactly. That's a great phrase. I want to be one who gets it done. That's me. Please, can I be that person? Sure. Yeah. Come on in.
Yeah, sure can. It'll cost you, but you can be that kind of person.
Totally.
So yeah, that's just something to keep in mind when you're looking at the messaging as well. The fourth P is place. And with print on demand, obviously your customers can be literally anywhere. There's no one place, but where are your customers looking for your types of products? And we've talked about this before. If you are wanting to target, farmhouse, vintage, boho, home decor, blah, blah, blah. And it's you want to just really make high end. You maybe don't want to start by selling on Amazon, because
Mhm.
those types of people who are looking for that kind of stuff are typically going to be looking on Etsy, because that's the niche that
Yeah.
Etsy has carved out for itself. So you want to know where that avatar, where are they going to go? Where are they going to purchase the items that you're creating that you want to sell to them?
Right.
Because you're going to want to be sure to be in that place. We've talked about this before as well in the
Yeah.
archives, but sales channels are akin to various stores in the mall. We've broken down what eBay is, Walmart, Etsy.
I
We've
was trying
done
to
it
find
all
an episode. I can't find it, but yeah, I
in
mean,
the context of a mall. And I think it was, I think we did it very, very early on in the podcast with, what sales channel is right for you or something like that.
I think you're right. That's episode 2. My goodness.
Yeah. So that's like way in the beginning, way back in the archives. But I think that's where we first kind of had that's where that analogy was first created, was in the midst of that episode and our banter back and forth. But you need to know what store in the mall people are going to go to get that thing. People go to the Apple store to get a specific thing. If you want to sell Apple, you're going to have to get your product in the Apple store or to that same demographic. So you just need to be aware of where they're going. And they have every community has different types of buyers too. That's the other thing to keep in mind.
Yeah. The difference between, I think back to those old Apple commercials where they had, I'm a Mac and I'm a PC, and they were, really going for, I'm Mac, I'm super cool, I'm hip, and the PC was, I'm corporate, I've got a suit on, and I'm kind of a little bit of a dork here, and they really tried to capitalize on that demographic, and so, and that. Not saying that if you own a Windows machine, you're a dork. I got a couple of them over there. So,
that's what Apple's saying. We're not saying that,
but I'm a dork, but I'm on a Mac right now. So I'm cool. I don't know. My point is that, to your point, Josiah, different websites and sales channels and platforms, and communities, they have different types of buyers. And so the savvy companies are really trying to hone in on their type of buyer. And to the last one, the promotion, the messaging part, they're trying to make you want to be like their potential buyer, their potential customer. So it's really this multi-pronged, it really is a holistic strategy to get you to buy stuff. It's really, it's totally like psychology and the whole deal. And go back and listen to that episode with Luke, because it's very interesting what these companies are doing in order to kind of, and you can see all 5 P's, when you are watching some of these ads that you see all the time on
when
YouTube.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. It's like being a professional wrestling fan for as long as I have been. I know what to look for, how they're communicating to each other, when things are going to end, when a match is going to, I can tell by the positioning, what the ref is doing. And so it kind of ruins the magic sometimes, because I can just watch and be like, yeah, no, that's what's going to happen. Sometimes they're wrong, but all that to say, when you know what to look for, you won't look at it. You won't look at the thing the same way again. Same with theater. Having done theater, when I go to a show and performance, I know what to look for. I'm looking for something completely different than you're looking for, but it's because I know what to look for. So it's the same thing. You'll see it everywhere once you know. So the 5th and final P is people. Now, this obviously applies to both customers and employees that fall into this category, and you should certainly think about both. Again, didn't know that my coffee meetup with my friend this morning would have so many applicable stories for this particular episode. But we went to I won't name the coffee house that we went to, but it's in Windsor. And it's a really cool place, really great stuff, great like quiche and coffee is amazing. But their staff and employees seem to think that it's the end of their life by just being there. Like they just don't look like they're enjoying themselves. They're not responsive. They're not conversational. And it
Mm.
takes away from the otherwise really great experience of the space and the quality of the food and the
Right.
vibe of the shop. When the girl across the counter from you asks a question and she looks like she is pained to have to talk to you, and there's no customer service, and you have to, ask
Right.
for something that should be a given. And so that kind of stuff certainly makes a difference. And you want to think about that because it reflects poorly on you if the people
Right.
you have working for you, even if it's a VA and they're just shooting off emails, or maybe they're doing customer service for you, the way that they
Mhm.
communicate with customers through email or through their communications or on the phone, that is very important because it all goes back to you and your brand.
Mhm.
People, I've told this story before, or I've said this a lot of times, but I worked for Verizon, and when one of the employees in my store that I was managing in my hometown acted poorly or had poor customer service, it didn't reflect only on them, it reflected on the brand as a whole. And people don't
Right.
care. It's just like, what's Verizon? So Verizon sucks now because these people are incompetent, or they don't know what they're doing, or they were rude to me, or whatever. And it can make or break a culture, and culture is everything. When you are
Yeah.
trying to establish a good culture and you bring on someone that just isn't meshing with that, you can undo a lot of good work.
Mhm.
And you look at places like Chick-fil-A, whether you love them or hate them, which I don't know why you'd hate them because their food's delicious, but regardless, the my pleasure attitude will win you over. I've seen things on Instagram
Mhm.
and TikTok of these people doing, videos kind of parodying, is that the word? Yeah. That whole culture of like, hey, you forgot your Chick-fil-A sauce. And they run, 3 miles chasing this lady down the street, and they hand it through the window, and she says, thank you. And he goes,
Mhm.
my pleasure, and like collapses on the ground or whatever. But that's what they're known for. And you know that the Chick-fil-A drive-through oftentimes operates better than our federal government. And that's just the thing that they're known for. They're efficient. But it will win you over.
Yep.
The attitude will definitely win your loyalty for sure.
Yeah, I mean that goes right into the next part of, or the other side of the people P, is
Yeah.
the customers. So you got your staff and your employees, and then you have your customers. What do your customers think when they think about your brand? For example, what do you think about when you think about Chick-fil-A? What do you think about? Oh man, it's really good chicken. Oh man, the lines are really long. Man, the staff is really friendly. Those
Yeah.
are the things you think about, and so there's a couple positives. You might think about, well, it's run by this guy who doesn't like gay people, or or whatever. You have your own idea of
Right.
what Chick-fil-A stands for and what their brand represents, and it's like that with all of the big companies, Starbucks. Oh, they're on every corner, or they burn their coffee, or they're really kind, and they get you
Yeah.
through the drive through really quick, et cetera, et cetera. So there's always these different customer experiences. And another
Yeah.
word for
And
this, oh, go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, we're thinking about that. To me, it seems like when we're rattling off the lists of potential um, uh, cons to going somewhere, which might be a logistic thing,
Mm,
the thing that often offsets it is the interpersonal aspect of the experience. So Chick-fil-A's
yeah.
lines are super long, but I know they're efficient. They'll get us through. They're super kind. The
Hmm.
Starbucks next to my house, I'm not a huge fan of Starbucks coffee. It's not the best for sure, but
Hmm.
the crew that works in there, they know who I am. I know who they are. I enjoy interacting with them. They're always very kind, very friendly. So it's like, man, okay, the line's long in Starbucks or whatever, but the crew is awesome. So the logistic stuff can be offset by the interpersonal aspect, and vice versa. And if both suck, then you are in a world of hurt
You're sunk.
because there's no redemption. It doesn't matter how good food. I enjoy Old Chicago. I'll never go back to the one next to my house
Mm,
because they're lazy, they're slow, they're not friendly. The food takes forever. They don't come
yeah.
check on you. It's a great food, but I will not go back because not only is the service slow, but the people who work there are not great, are not very friendly. So I just won't. I'm not going back. So you can
Yeah.
have the best product in the world, but if both of those things are not in your in a win column for you, you'll lose customers regardless of how good your stuff is.
Yeah. Another word for this is positioning. And Wikipedia defines this as positioning refers to, I'm going to read this. Positioning refers to the place that a brand occupies in their customers' minds and how it is distinguished from the products of the competitors and
Yeah.
different from the concept of brand awareness. So it's not just brand awareness, it's actually positioning of your brand. So it's not just people know you, it's how they think of you when they think of you,
Yeah.
when they are aware of your brand. And so the question really is, what do you have that differentiates you enough from your competition that your positioning is such that there's a positive thought or a positive emotion when they think about your brand. And obviously we're talking about print on demand, and if you're just selling on Etsy and you're not collecting emails and you're not building a brand, maybe some of this doesn't apply. But if you want to move into this, it's all right here for you. This is the way of marketing. This is the way of the world when it comes to products and services. And so if we're going to wrap this up in a nice little bow, these 5 things are really reference points for you to either initially kind of jump into and think through for your brand, or revisit these later. In fact, I think it's like, as we were going through this, I'm like, man, I really need to think about that one, and because I haven't thought about it for a while. So it's good, I think, to revisit this. And it really can help you focus your strategy, moving forward. Or if you find yourself like veering off the path some way, or you know what I mean? Or you made a bad hire, your VA, just cuss somebody out in the customer service or whatever, I mean, thinking through, okay, well, why? Well, it's got to be a culture thing, or maybe they're just a bad person. I don't know.
Yeah.
But these things can help you. And the cool thing is that anybody can apply all these concepts. You don't have to just be a Starbucks or a Chick-fil-A or a whatever. Anybody at any level of business can apply these 5 P's of marketing and brand awareness and positioning and all of these things to really, really impact how people view you in the marketplace and how well you do in the marketplace.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd say too, again, these are things for, like Travis said, for reference, but also if you're looking to make improvements, let's say to your perceived value or the packaging, you don't have to go from a nondescript poly bag to a dry ice emitting box. There's small things you can do incrementally to increase that experience. I can think of 2 brands that I've shopped with before. One is Disciple Threads. It's a faith-based clothing organization, and one is King's Wild Project, which they make cards. And I bought a deck of cards that looks like a Swisher Sweet pack, and the outside is really cool. But they write a thank you note on a card of theirs, and the backing is a different design that you can look at and be like, oh, that's a cool design. Disciple Threads ordered a T-shirt, and they send a thank you note saying, hey, thanks for your second order. Thanks for ordering again. We really appreciate your continued business. It's just a handwritten note. It's nothing that's super fancy, wildly expensive, but that now to me is like, these dudes are awesome because I know that they acknowledge my support. I like their product, and I get these little things that I realize, like, oh, they took the time to do that. That's really cool. So don't think you have to go like from A to Z. There's other steps in between that you can do to add to those, the improvement of those things. And that's just across the board on all 5 of these. So thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. Remember, next week, June 11th, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. If I was in a church service, I'd say, when is that? And then they'd say, June 11th at 7 p.m. and repeat it back. But you can't because you're not here. So remember, June 11th, 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Live potentially on all Print on Demand Cast social medias, but for sure too. So if you want to shoot out or send us the answers to the magic questions, or tell us how your business is going, how we've helped you. Again, www.speakpipe.com/print-on-demand-cast is where you can go to do that. It's very simple. They make it really easy, but it would be awesome to be able, not only for us to hear you, but for the listeners to also hear, audibly hear a fellow listener talk about some of the stories. And so really, this is all just another way for us to try and foster community with all of you and interact with you more. If we could, we'd have coffee or lunch or dinner with all of you if it was possible. But for now, this is the next best thing, is interacting on live platforms like this. So please, again, speakpipe.com/print-on-demand-cast is where you can go to send your audio answers. Otherwise, info@print-on-demand-cast.com is where you can go to submit your written answers, or you can DM us on Facebook or Instagram and do that as well. Travis, anything else you want to cover before we wrap this thing up?
No, I think we've covered a lot. I will just echo you and say we really appreciate all of you guys, and we'd love for you to celebrate with us and help us celebrate this really cool milestone. I don't think either one of us, and we'll probably say this again next week, but I don't think either one of us thought we'd ever get to 200 episodes. That's just absolutely incredible and insane and blows my mind. But it really doesn't matter if we don't have anybody listening to the show. So please show your support and participate. I'd love to have like 10 different SpeakPipe things to go through. It'd be super cool. But join us next Tuesday, 7 p.m. Mountain. And looking forward to hanging out with you, Josiah, at your house, and then hanging out with all of you Print on Demand Cast listeners.
Absolutely. So until then, for Travis, I'm Josiah, and we'll see you next time live right here on the Print on Demand Cast.
See ya.
Hey, babe. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of the Print on Demand Cast. We hope you enjoyed the Totally Tubular Show. If you've got a question or a suggestion for the show, send Travis and Josiah an email at info@printondemandcast.com. Want to be wicked nice? Take a minute to rate and review the show on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to subscribe now so you don't miss next week's episode. See you next time, for sure.
In a world where businesses everywhere are trying to make print-on-demand sales, one podcast goes above and beyond every week to bring the most POD-specific information there is, all to help save the day, every day. Don't succumb to the enemies of your print-on-demand business. Sign up today for the Print on Demand Cast VIP email at printondemandcast.com/VIP. This time, it's for real.